Welcome back to the big question. Of course, our guest tonight is Court Leader Raila Odinga. And the big question we are asking tonight is, what does the future hold for Raila Odinga, the politician? Of course, keep your comments coming to 22422 or SMS platform, and on Twitter on the hashtag the big question. Here is one from Lawrence in Syokimau. There's no politics with Raila. It requires a man to stand by his ideologies. Thumbs up, Raila. I'm always looking up to you. And then we have Ouma. Even so good to Ouma from Migori County. Raila Odinga has a very clear political future. Do you think it was very easy for Nelson Mandela to fight apartheid? No, he was mocked by his own people then, jailed, but now everyone is celebrating him. Never give up, Raila, fight within or outside the government. Let's look at some tweets now that you've been tweeting. We have at Osquam. Question: Raila Odinga is alive in Kenyan politics and wields more clout than nearly all elected leaders. At Lakisti, yes, Raila is or will be a true leader with vision for this country. At Amos Vangetich says Raila should pave way for upcoming veterans in Kenyan politics, having age as a key factor in mind. At Web Consult, yes, but as an advisor and not a contender, he should agree that his time is spent and should leave the stage for others. At Lilian Khasiali, no, hapana. His part is well hidden in the books of history. Let him retire as the young Turks take over. And finally, at P. Jumbe, Raila still has a role to play. He has fought for Kenya, and we need to respect his wish. Salute, definitely, to you, Court Leader Raila Odinga. And of course, keep your comments coming. We'll be sampling them again. Let's go to now a matter that's happening this Friday and Saturday, the ODM elections. I know you've talked about this severally, but just for the record, I'll ask again. Is there anything like a preferred list in ODM?
Nothing could be further from the truth. There's nothing like a preferred list in ODM. ODM is a very democratic party. Members are free to vie for any position within the party, subject to certain conditions which have been set by the Elections Board and the National Executive Committee. So as you know that the positions were advertised and applications were invited, and a number of members applied, and then they were shortlisted, and those who met the requirements were cleared by the Elections Board, and we will be vying. And every member, those who have been cleared, have a chance to be elected. I don't prefer any member of the party. After all, my vote is only one.
Right. Yeah. But we know the influence you have and how much of a leader you are in ODM and in this country. And we've seen some people go in campaigns and using your name, saying they are close to you, and some have actually got seats through that. A case in point, not necessarily in the ODM election, but when you go back, for example, to the nominations in 2013 prior to the election, including what happened in Siaya between Oduol and the contenders there. Do you think that is the right thing to do? And do you stop people when they use your name, yet it is within the same party in which you're a leader?
I have actually told people that I don't have any preferred candidate. Of course, you cannot really stop people from using your name behind your back. People will always try to do that to gain some unfair advantage over their competitors. That is really politics. But I cannot be responsible for that. And I'm not responsible for anybody trying to use my name. As you know that there are other people who suffer merely because they are related to me. You see, like Dr. Buru, he had been a 4-time member of parliament. Yet now an accusation was that I was imposing a brother, somebody who has been a member of parliament 4 times and contested not just within our party but against people from other political parties. Then there was also the story about my sister trying to run for the governorship of Kisumu. That was also say that I was trying to impose leadership. I say, these are grown-up individuals. They're Kenyans on their own right, and the people can just judge them for who they are. So if they are unpopular, people reject them. Yeah.
So even right now, as we go to Friday, you're making it clear that anyone who has been using Raila Odinga's name, that should not be the case.
That should not be the case at all. And but you see, when people are competing, people sometimes use very underhand methods to try to discredit their competitors.
For example, the issue of a mole or moles in ODM.
Yes.
I would like to know your take on that. Do you believe that there's such a thing in the party?
But you know, I said it the other day. I said that this was a creation of the media, and I said that there are no moles or rats in the party.
It wasn't really, with all due respect, a creation of the media. It's what these contenders were saying on their platforms, and they were campaigning.
No, the people, because just like the others were saying, there are some candidates who are preferred. That was also just designed to fix some other candidates. So the others were saying there are no moles. So I said there are no preferred candidates and there are no moles in the party. Yeah.
How democratic would you say ODM is? And before you answer this question, we have a soundbite here we want to play. Happened a while back. That is Homa Bay Senator Otieno Kajwang. Okay, there was a problem there. As you can see, there was some bit of scuffle. This was during campaigns ahead of the ODM elections on Friday that happened in Nairobi County.
I love Raila so much, and I can see him being misled. He's being misled by people who do not have this party at heart.
If there are 4 people who started ODM, it is Otieno Kajwang, Ruto, Ndolo, and Shikuku. The rest came because we did it well, because I sang well. Sichese hapa. Hii ni chama yetu, and I'm not going to allow uchese hapa na chama. We will select you on the basis of loyalty. Because if we give this party to somebody we doubt your loyalty, we will finish this party.
That's Otieno Kajwang, a very key member of ODM, running for opposition right now. When he says that we are going to select people on the basis of loyalty, chama ni yetu, does that really reflect a democratic party where you're telling everyone to vie for every position?
Number one, that's Otieno Kajwang as an individual. But I think you need to understand that statement in context. You have to be a loyal member of a party. In other words, you believe in the principles and policies of that party to be elected as an official of a party. So loyalty to a party is not a loyalty to an individual.
Right.
So that needs to be understood very well.
Right.
Yeah.
And that will be obviously determined by the delegates.
Yes.
But Otieno Kajwang here is talking even before we go to that process.
Yes. He's a candidate, so he's campaigning. So in campaigns, people use all sorts of tools to outsmart each other.
So clearly, Raila Odinga, you will not agree with what Otieno Kajwang is saying.
What I've said is loyalty, if he meant loyalty to him or to Raila Odinga, I would disagree.
You will disagree.
But if he meant it's a loyalty to the party, which is what I understood him to be saying, I agree with him.
Right.
Yes.
We've heard also Elizabeth Ongoro there saying Raila is being misled by a few people. She was actually weeping. You saw that. I don't know if you saw that day. Are you being misled, as she says, or do you think you're being misled, or what would you say to what she said?
As I've told you that people will use all sorts of reasons and excuses. That I'm being misled. Some people said I'm being misled by my brother. Others say I'm being misled by my wife. Others say I'm being led by my other close friends. They will give names, so and so, so and so. So that is general propaganda, and you know, politics is made of propaganda. There's a lot of propaganda doing rounds, particularly in the campaign time. So particularly if people are in the same party, and this is something that happens all over the world. You saw when Obama and Hillary Clinton were campaigning in the primaries, some very harsh words were used in the campaigns. But after the nominations, then they became the best of friends and worked very closely together. But when they went now to confront the Republican Party, they went as one united team.
Right.
But when members of the same party are campaigning, you must remember that the ideology is the same. So they cannot be campaigning on the basis of ideology. That's why sometimes they tend to be personal, and many political parties, established political parties in the world, have found that this sometimes creates bad blood
between,
and sometimes it hurts the party in elections. So we are trying to find ways and means of managing this.
Right. Still on this, there was some controversy earlier when we had a lot of MPs, especially from Luo Nyanza, saying they are not allowed to vie for party positions just because they come from Luo Nyanza. Yet ODM says it's a democratic party. And a case in point, apart from the so-called young MPs of ODM who did not tell us why they really decided to back down, including Ken Obura, we had one who said, and I don't know if we have that statement from Dalmas Otieno, who's the Rongo MP. I'll just read that statement for you. He said, in compliance with the wishes of the party leadership, we can underline that, party leadership, this is to confirm that I will not contest any position in the next ODM elections due on February 28th. I will, however, continue to serve as a CORD Management Board co-chair with David Musila. So what would you say to such a comment from such a respected person like Dalmas Otieno, who's been in ODM, that in compliance with the wishes of the party leadership?
I would say that that is so far from the truth. Because if you're talking about the leadership of the party, it is not just one individual. If you're talking about the leadership, I would talk about the National Executive Council of the party. That is the leadership. I'm just one of the members of that leadership. And at no time in our deliberations did we ever bar anybody from contesting any position. All that I said was that if you want to contest a position in this party, you must know that this is a national party. Don't come and say that I want to contest this position because it was held by a member of my community, or that this position and this other position must be a preserve of our community.
Are you speaking generally, or is that what Dalmas Otieno had said?
That is what he implied, that maybe a position of Secretary Generalship should remain in Luo Nyanza, saying that we cannot trust any other person with this. They quoted the late Martin Shikuku's experience of running away with the certificate, Mr. Mazo having run away. So they said we cannot, and they said that the center of gravity of this party is here. And I say that, look, if you look, we got, after whatever the IEBC did, but at least they announced that we got 5.3 million votes. And just about 1 million of that came from that side.
Okay.
So I said that this is a national party, and it is actually an insult to other members of this party for someone to claim that this party belongs to this community or this other community.
Right.
That is all that I said.
Right. Two things proposed ahead of Friday that are going to be decided by the delegates by the National Governing Council, including splitting some seats in ODM, which critics have said this is just creating positions for more people to avoid fallout, in fact likening it to the former KANU tactics, and the issue of voting by acclamation or secret ballot. I know this is something that is going to be decided by the delegates. You will be there. What do you think should be the case in both as a delegate?
You know, we had a National Governing Council meeting last week, and that is when these recommendations were made, particularly with regard to expanding the NEC to comply with the requirements of our Constitution. Because as you know, the Constitution requires that a certain percentage of positions must be held by either gender. And also, as you know, this is the only national party, and that you need to have the face of the country represented in NEC, which is a very critical organ of the party. And this was then discussed by members of the Governing Council, which is the second highest organ of the party, and was approved. So, of course, it will be then taken to the Delegates Convention for approval. They can approve or they can reject. And likewise, the issue of acclamation.
Or secret ballot.
Or secret ballot. As you know that the Constitution provides for either.
Either.
You see?
Yeah.
So again, it is up to members.
So what would you rather yourself?
I'm saying the Constitution allows for either, but
right.
I have no preference.
Okay. One question that people are asking, even in 22422, you've run for the presidency thrice. Twice you said you did not lose the election. Of course, in a democracy, and you know better being a Democrat, and so many people relate democracy with you, we know there's a winner and there's a loser. Now, critics have been asking, is Raila Odinga a sore loser?
No, Hussein, you know, in 1997, I lost and I acknowledge this is Mwai Kibaki who complained at that time and even went to court.
Yeah.
But as you remember,
talking about the last two.
Immediately after that, I even went ahead to try to bring the countries together on the issue of the Constitution.
Right.
And work with the government of the day.
Right.
But 202, you know exactly. Sorry, 207.
207.
You know exactly what transpired. We are still dealing with the aftermath of that very unfortunate election. The consequences of what happened. Even Mr. Kriegler
could not say
who
won.
And I don't know where you find these ideas saying that
somebody won
and that I lost. How did I become?
It was a coalition government, though.
How did I become a prime minister?
It was a coalition government.
Yeah, because the commission actually nullified the outcome which was announced by Mr. Kibiti. Yes.
Lately, then.
But I went to court, and the court made a ruling.
And you accept the ruling?
And I accepted the ruling. I said that
you don't agree.
I didn't agree, but I respect.
Exactly, so, and people ask, why don't you agree? Why don't you think you lost that election?
Because remember, we put evidence before the court, 800-page evidence before the court.
Although a bit late?
A bit late, in 2 weeks. Within 2 weeks, actually, it was within 8 days.
But the court had given a specific time and you couldn't
manage to... You had to get that information from the same electoral commission, which had refused to give us. We had to go before the same court to get an order compelling the electoral commission to make that information available to us. And once we got it, and we compiled it, and then we brought it before the same court. The same court said it was time-barred. And then at the same time, the rule against us.
Right. So finally, before I take you answer two questions from Twitter. In 2007, and you said clearly, the Kriegler said clearly, nobody won that election. That's why we had you as a prime minister and Kibaki as president. The ODM Pentagon campaign was very strong. You would agree with that. By 2012, you had no member of that Pentagon with you. We also had information that you were still trying to court William Ruto as late as August 2012. Is there anything you think you did wrong, and did you really lose by losing the Pentagon and William Ruto?
Not at all. You know, the Pentagon, we had just come together, and you remember we won majority in 6 of the
Eight provinces.
eight provinces, but the Electoral Commission still declared us the losers, in spite of that. Even this other time round, we still won in,
Right.
in 6 of the 8 provinces. This is last time round. But we were still declared the losers. So I don't think that it's got anything to do with the Pentagon. The people who were voting for me as myself, we lost some votes, yes, but we gained very substantially in areas where we did not.
So you don't have any regrets then with people saying you always lose friends after an election,
No,
close to an election?
Politics is a very dynamic game. Friends have ambitions. So they also had ambitions. Like you can see, my friend Bill had his own ambitions. Musalia had his own ambitions. Even Najib
Had their own ambitions.
had their own ambitions.
Okay.
And you can't tie them to you.
All right, fair enough. We're going to sample 2 questions right now on Twitter. And the first one we have is from actually Governor Isaac Ruto, who was our guest here last week. Do we still have a party in parliament checking excesses of national government, or are we back to square one? It's a question again that I asked you earlier, Prime Minister, the former Prime Minister. Rather.
Yeah, no, I'm a Prime Minister, except not a Prime Minister of the Republic of Kenya.
Right.
It's just like President Clinton. It's still President Clinton,
Okay.
not former President Clinton.
Okay.
Yes, we have a party that is checking the excesses of the government, of the executive. We have actually a coalition, Wiper, Ford Kenya, and ODM in CORD. And they have tried to play that role. And we hope that they're going to be even more effective in keeping the government in check in this coming session.
Okay. We have a final one. Right. At Eric Onsongo says, what is Raila's view on the anti-gay bill in Uganda? Should Kenya adopt such a bill?
I believe in freedom of choice. And therefore, I really don't see this hula-baloo about gay and so on. I disagree with Museveni on this particular issue. But of course, Parliament is free to canvass and discuss it.
Okay. Would you support the passage of such a bill in this country, if it was to happen?
I've said that I don't think this is a priority for us in this country.
Right. Finally, maybe, in just 10 seconds, looking at your political life, all the sacrifices you have made for this country, has it been worth it for you?
Yes, Hussein, I think that I don't want to be selfish, but I believe that maybe in a small way I've made some contribution to making this country a better place. That really was my motivating factor.
Right.
When we started, that we needed to change this country, make it a better place for us and for the future generation. I may not have achieved exactly what I wanted this far, but I think that if you go down the memory lane to where we started, I think that tremendous progress has been made.
Okay. Court Leader Raila Odinga, thank you so much for making time for us tonight on The Big Question. And remember, the question we are asking was, what does the future hold for Raila Odinga, the politician? Keep your comments coming. We'll sample them again on 22422 and on Twitter using the hashtag The Big Question. Prime Minister, former Prime Minister, okay, I'll say Prime Minister, Raila Odinga has said it again, that it's an emphatic yes in as far as his future is concerned with politics